Good morning and welcome to Korea Today, live from Seoul.
The ruling Today party is expected to go its way unilaterally and push ahead with the deliberation on the annual budget bill on the deadline today if the opposition Democratic Party does not end its boycott.
U.S. Vice President Joe Biden will start his 3 Asian nation tour in an attempt to ease tensions in Northeast Asia. More coming up in the headlines. And on the rise is the number of elderly 85 years and older getting on the operating table. Details coming up on In Print.
What are the 10 things Korea does better than anywhere else? We have a report on that for you, so stay for more on Hot Clicks.
And one of those things is this. After 9 months of one-on-one battles across 6 continents, the world's best B-boys went head-to-head for the championship title of the Red Bull BC1 World Finals in Seoul. With the bitter biting cold now here, practical eye-catching products are out on the market. Self-heating and energy efficient. We have some winter contraptions that'll keep you warm on Monday, December 2nd, 2013.
From Arirang News, this is Korea Today.
And good to have you with us on Korea Today on this Monday morning. Hope you had a great weekend.
And thank you for joining us. Now, it's known as the Salvation Army all around the world, but over here it's known as Gusegun. The Salvation Army Kettle Drive begins today, right now, in over 350 locations around the nation. And the goal this year is to collect 5.5 billion won worth of donations. That's roughly about 5.1 million US dollars.
Right. It all began in 1891 in San Francisco, but the Kettle Drive landed in Korea in 1928 when a Salvation Army officer made porridge in the kettle and handed them out to the homeless. And it's been going strong for 85 years now. And since last year, they've been accepting donations using credit cards, so maybe you can swipe for a good cause.
All right, from porridge to cash donations, and now credit.
To digital donations, right?
You have no excuse.
Right. All right, we'll begin Korea Today on this Monday morning with a check of the day's headlines.
Another bumpy road is likely in store at the National Assembly on this Monday. Legislators are required to pass next year's budget bill by today to meet the legal deadline. But with the prolonged political wrangling over other various issues, the bill has yet to be submitted to the Special Budget Committee. The ruling Today party says it plans on introducing the bill to the committee unilaterally if that's what it takes to get the bill through.
The legal deadline for passing next year's budget is about to expire, but we haven't been able to even start reviewing the bill. This is a very unfortunate situation.
But the main opposition Democratic Party, currently boycotting all parliamentary activities, says this is another example of the Today party's act of violence.
A budget bill that is passed without a proper parliamentary review would be invalid. Such a bill would be useless since it doesn't have any legal basis.
And with this remaining big hurdle between the two rival parties, experts say it is highly likely the two will not be able to pass the bill, even by the extended December 16th deadline, which was when the two parties had originally agreed to pass it by. Amid heightened tensions in Northeast Asia stemming from China's newly set air defense zone, U.S. Vice President Joe Biden will start his 3-nation tour to Korea, China, and Japan on Monday. Starting in Tokyo, reports say Biden will try to ease tensions in the region while also trying to show the Obama administration's commitment to retaining its influence in Asia, specifically with an emphasis on the Pacific region. Citing diplomatic sources in the U.S., the Seoul-based Yonhap News Agency reports Washington will likely struggle to decide on its stance should all 3 nations remain firm on protecting their respective air defense zones, which at the moment are overlapping in certain areas over the East China Sea. After holding talks in Japan, Biden is set to visit China before arriving in Seoul on Thursday. And on that note, Korea's senior security officials spent Sunday talking about redrawing the country's air defense zone, or the KADIZ. Government officials declined to comment on what the conclusion of the meeting was, but did say progress was made. Based on Sunday's meeting, officials are scheduled to meet with ruling party lawmakers on Tuesday to further discuss revising the KADIZ to possibly include not only Korea's southern islands of Manado and Hongdo, but that's covered by Japan's air defense zone, but also Yeodo, a submerged rock mass lying on Korea and China's overlapping exclusive economic zones. Now, meanwhile, with the boiling tension in the region, Korea's military is reportedly mulling over building 3 more Aegis destroyers to better defend the country's airspace as well as its territorial sovereignty. U.S. Trade Representative Michael Froman says in order for Korea to join the Washington-led Trans-Pacific Trade Pact, also known as TPP, Seoul would have to wait until the negotiations among the 12 current members are concluded. And with that, some trade experts in Korea are questioning whether Seoul has already missed the opportunity to take an advantage in the Pacific and Asian markets. Given that it took Japan some 17 months to get an approval to join the pact, sources say all Korea can do for now is to wait until the ongoing negotiations are done. The Korean government says the nation's GDP will jump about 2.5% over 10 years should Seoul join the trade bloc that includes the U.S., Japan, Canada, and Mexico. But opponents say it would initiate even more competition in the domestic agricultural sector, causing greater economic losses.
And good morning, everyone. It's now time for a swift look through your newspaper headlines. And as you heard earlier, the ruling Saenuri Party has promised to unilaterally introduce the budget bill to the Special Budget Committee today, which also happens to be the legal deadline for the bill to be passed into law. And as a seeming nod to the parliamentary freeze, 중앙일보's main headline this morning spells out number of bills turned into law in 3 months of regular parliamentary session. 0. The sub-headline says this year would make it the 11th year the National Assembly has failed to meet this deadline set by the Constitution, posing the question, is it even worth it to have a running parliament in this condition? The article cites related parties saying that it would be logistically impossible to pass that bill today, adding thereafter that it's even unclear whether the budget bill can be passed by the end of this year. And now shifting to the front page image, it shows the entrance of Korea's treasure number 1, Sungnaemun, with a title on top reading Sungnaemun's doors closed again. And continuing its reports on the low-quality restoration work done on the landmark gate, the paper adds that its visit on Sunday found the gate's doors locked, with directions only stating that the special visits that were allowed on Saturdays and Sundays were now said to be available in the months of March through October, with no explanations as to why. And scooting over to 조선일보, it has its eyes on regional relations this morning, and its main headline reads, leading in what must be done, China's global strategy shift. And the subheadlines explain that the China that had been focusing on economic growth, thus avoiding conflicts with other countries, is now long gone. This as seen in Beijing's recent muscle flexing announcement over its claimed air defense zone. This is a change that was forewarned ahead of time, the paper says, as China's President Xi Jinping had told his audience at a party meeting end of last year that China was changing from follower of international rules to the creator of them. And scooting on over to Gyeongyang Shinmun, meanwhile, it has a headline reading, Air Defense Zone TPP, Park Geun-hye diplomacy on full-fledged test bed, especially as these issues warrant diplomacy from all sides with testy waters between Seoul, Washington, Beijing, and Tokyo. Now, turning to economic issues next, 동아일보 has a headline that suggests record high trade surplus. Let's break through the economic slump tunnel through exports. Korea is expected to have done pretty well in exports this year, despite the global economic slump. And the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Energy yesterday announced that Korea's accumulative trade surplus recorded $40.5 billion in the January through November period. And the subheadline adds that exports now account for 78.7% of contribution to the country's overall economic growth, thus making that suggestion that exports perhaps are the key to continued growth here in Korea. And finally, let's take a look at Korea Economic Daily. It highlights an interesting trend. This headline reads, "A generation of 100-year-olds willingly get on operating table." And the included graph showing that the number of elderly aged 85 and older who underwent surgeries last year in 2012 stood at more than 22,000, which the subheadline says is a nearly twofold increase since 5 years earlier in 2007. This is perhaps a reflection of Korea's aging and longer living society. With that, we'll wrap your look at what's in print on this Monday. Next up are your closing numbers from Friday's market action.
Temperatures are hovering around the freezing point here in Seoul, so do bundle up.
That's right, in the morning, but the daytime highs do seem to get up there these days, especially over the weekend. So we'll get a look at what today's weather has in store for us with Lee Dami. Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, Dami.
Good morning, everyone. Today I'm reporting live from Yongsan-gu, Seoul. I hope everyone had a wonderful weekend outdoors as we had some beautiful conditions on both Saturday and Sunday. Now, on this Monday morning, we are starting out with partly cloudy skies with some fog here and there. Scattered throughout the central regions are some thick patches of fog, so if you are out on the roads, then please be cautious. Now, over in the East Coast areas of Gangwon-do and Gyeongsang-pukdo, there are also dry air advisories as well. Now, as for the temperatures this morning, it is a bit chilly at 0.9 degrees Celsius right now, but later in the day, our highs will be leaping up about 10 degrees, giving us mild conditions in the afternoon. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look at the weather around Korea. Seoul's highs are at 9, Daejeon and Gwangju at 10, Daegu at 11, Gangneung at 12, Busan and Jeju at 13 degrees. All throughout this week, our highs will look similar to today, so making plans for outdoor activities isn't such a bad idea. That's all I have for the weather. I'll be back in the latter half to introduce to you a special festival.
And still ahead on Korea Today, Laurence Kwark is one of the most well-known Korean human rights activists. She left her home country 25 years ago and has been helping the underprivileged in many corners of the world. We sit down with her to hear her story.
The recruitment process for sanitation workers are underway in Seoul, and this is becoming a coveted job for people who are looking for stability and people who don't mind physical labor.
That seems to be the key issue here, stability. Many people are lining up for these jobs which provide the stable environment that they want and that they can keep on going as a career. Kim Chan-ju joins us with more. Good morning.
Good morning,
Good morning. One of the main reasons why people are looking for these factors, stability, is because of due to the fierce competition in the job market and, of course, financial difficulties in the country. And the job preference has been changing these days. And the preference used to be working in professional field with high salaries, but now it is changing towards, of course, stability and the job that guarantees employment until retirement. And in particular, sanitation worker recruitment competition is very high around respective areas in Seoul. So why is this job in particular very popular? So I went out to find out the details.
It's test day for those seeking jobs to become sanitation workers at Dobong-gu, Seoul. The most competitive part of the exam is the preliminary round, which is physically demanding. For Dobong-gu's recruitment exam, which is for hiring 6 new workers, the office received close to 80 applications. The competition rate was 13-1, with many of the applicants in their 20s and 30s. Also, 30% have a minimum education level of community college.
I'm 24 years old and currently work as a fitness trainer. Since my occupation only allows me to work until a certain age, I applied for this job since it is more stable and you can work longer.
I might not get the job, but I wanted to try out for it. It might be difficult to win younger people with strength, but I'd like to take on the challenge.
From the moment I handed in my application, I timed myself when practicing at home.
I still have my job. Running a business can be difficult, so I wanted to find something more stable.
Once you pass the document screening process, the first round is a physical test. Each applicant has to hold up a sack weighing 30 kilograms for 3 minutes, which requires skills more than simple strength. After the physical test, they announce the applicants who will go through the final interview. Sanitation work started to receive attention in the job market after the Asian financial crisis in the late 90s. With the growing competition rate, recruitment for sanitation workers became standardized in 2003. One of the reasons why the job is favored among young people is the improved working environment that mainly focuses on street cleaning.
We used to have to clean up a lot of food waste and briquette ashes. But now the recycling system is well in place and there are separate companies that clean up the food waste. So the working environment is much better.
Choi Shin-hee, a sanitation worker applicant in his 20s, works as a personal trainer at a gym. He says this exam was a trial run for him as he gets ready for the exam in 2016.
I practice with a 25-kilogram sack at home, but I'm preparing for 2 years down the line. In the case of fitness trainers, many of them tend to lose their jobs in the mid-30s, so I want to take the time to prepare for the exam.
Young people who are already employed are also trying out for the job due to its stability that guarantees employment until retirement.
I think the job has to be right for you. Although being a sanitation worker is a difficult job, you get the pleasure of cleaning the area that you live in. And plus, the job guarantees employment until retirement, so that's why I applied.
Recruitment for sanitation workers these days is limited to only 5 to 10 vacancies annually. Chongno-gu in Seoul has not employed any new workers in the past few years. The perception of sanitation workers has improved, but on the flip side lies financial difficulties and the competitive job market, which is causing more people to apply for public service jobs.
The perception about certain occupations is improving in a positive way. But at the same time, the reason why many people are putting their priorities on stability is to avoid facing insecurities in the job market.
Now, when you look at many of the applicants that were interviewed, it seems that they're very young. I mean, they're in their mid-20s. I mean, they seem to be really just getting their first jobs. Now, could this be a reflection of the current job market status?
Definitely, more people are with the high education backgrounds are applying for these kind of civil servants jobs, such as sanitation worker jobs like these ones. When I went to the examination site for the sanitation worker in Dobong-gu, the college graduates took over nearly about 48% of applicants. And Dobong-gu District Office forecast that there will be more college graduates applying for sanitation workers in the future.
What's interesting is that in the past, people would agree with me that it was not the most sought-after job, a sanitation worker. And it had a bit of negative connotation because it's difficult. But I guess the young people don't really seem to mind this.
That's why when I spoke to applicants in their 20s and 30s, they seem to have more sort of like a professionalism towards the job and high pride towards sanitation worker, which shows a changing perception towards this job. And they feel the sense of sort of reward because they feel that it's a job that serves the community. And then even though it is, as you mentioned, it's a hard labor, a physical labor, they feel that it is, some of them preferred because they preferred it over office work because they wanted to be in a more active working environment.
So sitting in front of a desk is not really their cup of tea.
Exactly.
So how are the older applicants taking the trend? I mean, they can't deny the fact that their chance of getting the job would be decreasing because more younger and healthier men are coming after to get this job.
That is true. When I asked middle-aged applicants, they thought that the main reasons why so many young people nowadays are applying for sanitation worker job is due to this competitive job market these days. And they also welcome the changing perception of sanitation workers, which used to be one of the jobs to avoid among young people, of course. But as Hyung-Kyung mentioned, there are some people voicing opinions that if young people start to dominate this field, it will reduce the chances for older generation with lower education backgrounds in getting jobs. And that's why many local governments these days have age limits when it comes to sanitation workers to just even out the balance, I guess. Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you for that report, Chanju.
Thank you.
All right, let's shift gears now, and we'll take you to a major b-boy competition that was held over the weekend right here in Seoul that almost brought the house down. Some 3,500 people gathered to see the creme de la creme of the b-boy world.
That's right. This was hosted by Red Bull. It's the Red Bull BC1 competition, and it brought together 16 finalists from 10 different countries who were chosen through 9 months of regionals, which was held in 90 different countries. So this is, as you said, the cream of the crop there.
That's
and we'll take a
right.
look at this competition.
This past weekend, the Red Bull BC1 World Final 2013 was held in Seoul. In scale, it was the biggest dance competition ever held, with over 2,000 b-boy dancers from 53 countries, battling in over 90 rounds of regional competitions held all over the world. For many b-boy dancers, the Red Bull BC1 is their dream stage. Every year, the best b-boys of each continent gather to compete with others around the world, and this unique competition style is watched closely by many fans. Since its first opening in 2004, the BC1 World Competition is celebrating its 10th anniversary for the first time in Seoul.
I mean, yeah, Korea has a pretty short history in b-boying. I mean, the first b-boys from Korea I saw was like 98. But within a very short time, Korea developed skills in dancing, acrobatics, in b-boying on the highest level in the world. So Korea nowadays is like one of the most important b-boy countries in the world, and that gives a big reason why an event like Red Bull BC1 stops by in Korea.
Participating in this year's 10th anniversary competition were 8 winners of past matches, 6 regional competition winners representing their continents, and 2 wildcard competitors. A total of 16 b-boy dancers competed in a tournament-style one-on-one dance battle for the winning title. Representing Korea was the 2006 World Final winner Hong Ten and the 2008 winner Wing. There has never been a winner from the hosting country so far, so many are watching closely, hoping this time will be an exception.
I had many opportunities to participate in Red Bull BC1 since 2008, but I chose not to after hearing that the competition would be held in Korea. I've been looking forward to this day for a long time. All the champions have gathered for this competition, so it's a much tougher lineup, but I'm ready to have fun.
The dance techniques of past winners are not outdated at all. From the round of 16 to quarterfinals, they overpowered the regional finalists. The semi-finals were very amusing. Both French b-boy teams competed against each other in Group A, and both Korean b-boy teams went up against each other in Group B, regardless of who wins the semi-finals. The final match would be Korea versus France. The dancers who reached the final round were Korea's Hong Ten and France's Munir. Both competitors showed off their dynamic, flashy dance techniques. Who was crowned champion after this fierce b-boying battle? The honor went to Hong Ten. He also took home the bragging rights of being the first dancer to win on his home turf.
I cannot express how happy I am. I'm grateful to all the Koreans who cheered on for me and God for helping me win. Thank you very much.
Red Bull BC1 has continued to hold tournament-style one-on-one dance battles, showcasing some of the best b-boys in the industry. And today was another important day in its history.
And still ahead, the cold freeze is here earlier than expected, and people are gearing up not only with thicker clothes and long underwear, but also with various heat-generating products. We take a look at these devices and some unusual gadgets in the house to fight the cold. Stay tuned. I'm gonna have to steal some of those products. It's so freezing in the studio too.
All right, we're gonna look at that later on today.
All right, we're now going to meet the author of this book, Who Will Stand on Their Side, also known as 누가 그들의 편에 설 것인가. This is written by a human rights activist, Laurence Kwark, who has worked all over the world for peace and equality.
And Laurence Kwark also served as the Secretary General of Pax Romana. Now, that's the oldest international federation of Catholic intellectuals, and she did also write this book to talk about it. We'll talk about this book more after we get a chance to see the interview. We had a chance to meet her, where she talked about her work as well as her what drives her. For the past 25 years, Laurence Kwark has traveled the world to spread awareness and support people who are suffering from violent conflicts, discrimination, and poverty in countries like Mexico, Colombia, Peru, South Africa, and Syria.
Humanitarian aid is a kind of first reactions to the disasters happening in the country, but after that kind of more material help that we bring to the local population, I think also we need to look at more structural causes of poverty, violence, and wrongdoings happening in the society. So I think I was more interested to that part of work that where we could build more sustainability and long-lasting change in the society.
Determined to help the weak and the oppressed, Laurence Kwark turned to help the untouchable, impoverished population of India, known as the Dalits. While discrimination based on the caste system has been prohibited and untouchability abolished under the Constitution of India, inequality and prejudice against the Dalits in India still remain. Dalits are the outcasts that fall below the caste system.
So most of the work the Dalit are called to exercise in Indian society are considered as dirty works, and they precisely assume those dirty works, kind of like cleaning toilets or taking rubbishes from the villages or cleaning roads of the village, as well as when animal is dead or the human person is dead, and they have to take care of those dead bodies. So in school or at workplace, there are a lot of social discriminations taking place. Naturally, that even school teachers treat Dalit children differently. And by all that kind of accumulated social discrimination and marginalization of Dalit, and Dalit are actually at bottom of Indian society. And their status is something inherited from their birth, and they cannot change whatever effort they make in their life.
Laurence Kwark and the NGO she works with have brought significant change to the Dalit community. Dalit villages that were a part of extraterritorial jurisdiction are now protected under Indian law. Since then, Dalit women have been elected as regional politicians and leaders. Dalits have started to fight for their dignity and human rights.
During these 15 years, I think we have brought quite a lot of change, not only at the international level, but also at the grassroots level, because many of those leaders, when they got to know that in fact they are equal human persons as any of us, and there are not only domestic laws, but international laws exist to protect their right, they were very encouraged, and they get a kind of really light of hopes to change their life. Their determinations or perseverance to make things to change actually encouraged me more to stay with them.
Laurence Kwark was an ordinary woman who went to university and worked an ordinary office job in Korea. One day she was offered work at a civic organization in France. She still remembers that day as the day that changed her life forever.
When I left Korea, it was in 1987, and I was only 25 years old. It was not a very easy decision to leave my own country, and especially in a time where there are so many things happening and so many urgent tasks were ahead. But when I was invited by the International Movement of Catholic Students, which is an international movement, at the same time an international NGO based in Paris, I felt it was kind of calling. We could say a call from the God, but I was very strongly feeling that it was a call from the humanity.
At the age of 25, she began work as an activist at an international NGO. And 22 years later, in 2009, Laurence Kwark was elected as the Secretary General of Pax Romana, the international Catholic movement for intellectual and cultural affairs. Dedicating over half of her life to the establishment of peace, she realized peace is never achieved peacefully and that it does not happen automatically.
What I have learned from my 15 years of working together with Dalit movement is that first we have to know, we have to get interest about what is happening. This is something that every person can do, because these days through internet or various communication tools, I think we can even directly get in touch with even local leaders or victims of Dalit human rights defenders. More and more people will get interest, and to make known, I think that things will change very quickly.
After working 25 years as an international activist, Laurence Kwark says that she's taking some time off right now so she could tell her story through her book, in which she questions a lot of different things in life and offers her philosophy as a humanitarian.
Mm-hmm. And if you read the book, you'll see that she's been to all parts of the world, especially where people's basic human rights are need to be fought for. And a message that she gives for Korea's younger generation is to try to see past beyond just getting a successful career with high-paying salary, but to see what you can do for the community, and not just your immediate community, but for the global community.
That's right.
Well.
And when other people ask her, and she sometimes asks herself why she got herself into a difficult career path, and she says her answer is simply compassion. Mm-hmm. What is compassion? It's thinking of other people and putting yourself in their shoes and sharing that suffering, mm-hmm. and that's why she's traveled across the world just trying to help those people.
And that's also a question that we should all ask ourselves. What is compassion? It's the ability to feel empathy, but what if you don't do anything about it, right?
You can do something about it by taking part in that kettle drive that we mentioned at the top of the hour, right?
All right. All right, now we're going to go over to Chun Song Cho, who has some of the hottest popular searches from the internet on Hot Clicks.
Good morning, I'm Chun Sung Cho and welcome to Hot Clicks. Today we start off with a story on one of Korea's girl groups, Crayon Pop, famous for their funny dance moves and unique outfits, has been attracting a lot of attention for their appearance all the way in Australia. K-pop girl group Crayon Pop held an exclusive flash mob performance right in front of the Sydney Opera House while on their promotion tour in Australia, as you can see in the video. Everywhere they went, they were always surrounded by a crowd of fans, and you see the fans even dancing along to the song Ba 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 with Crayon Pop. After they returned home from their tour, the production team for Australia's popular program, Wacky World Beaters, came to Korea and learned their famous 5-cylinder engine dance. Crayon Pop once again proved that they're a global sensation now, spending one of the busiest years in 2013. This year, the first snow of the season fell just about 2 weeks ago in Seoul, and just like when other exciting things happen, people were busy taking pictures of the outdoor covered with snow and uploading them on social networking sites to share the moments with their friends and family. And among countless pictures of beautiful sceneries of snow uploaded on the internet, there was a couple of pictures that stood out the most. As you can see here, this beautiful scenic road, it's called the Meta Sequoia Line Road in Damyanggun, Jeollanam-do, and it's considered one of Korea's most famous romantic roads. And here you can see where the leaves haven't fully changed their colors yet, the first snow fell, embellishing the breathtaking view of Baekhyangsa Temple in Jangseonggun, Jeollanam-do. And also there are many other magnificent scenes around the country that are getting many internet users excited about the upcoming winter season. And moving on to our next story. By just boiling hot water, ramyeon or instant noodles is easy to cook and enjoyed by many. And it seems like the popularity is not subsiding among Koreans. In fact, a recent survey revealing statistics on its popularity is grabbing many people's attention. According to a recent Gallup Korea poll, a Korean adult consumes more than 1 ramyeon a week on average. What's interesting is that men consume it more often than women, and the younger you are, the more likely you'll eat ramyeon more frequently. They also surveyed for the most preferred ramyeons in Korea. The king of ramyeon, favored by 39% of the voters, is Sinramyeon, followed by Samyang-ramyeon with 14% and Ansong-tangmyeon with 8%. After this survey was released, pictures of discontinued ramyeons have interested many online communities as well, and many people commented that it brings back their favorite ramen-related memories from the past. Well, we talked about the most popular ramen in Korea. What about this time? We talk about the most popular drinks by country. The British company Wine Investment published a fun chart that indicates the most popularly consumed liquors and beverages in 80 countries, and there seems to be a trend that applies to most of the countries. Well, let's take a look at the video here. Teas were most popular in India and Middle Eastern countries, and the most popular beverage in the US was Coca-Cola. But excluding these few countries, the most popular drink for other countries were their traditional liquors. Maltai in China, sake in Japan, and vodka in Russia, and Guinness in Ireland. So now you would wonder, what's the most popular drink in Korea? Well, the answer is, of course, soju. It can't be more obvious. Well, in fact, last year, the Millionaires Club, a different British liquor publication, announced soju to be the world's best-selling brand of liquor. So you can imagine the magnitude of its popularity, not just in Korea, but also across the world. Well, moving on to our last story now. Recently on CNN's online travel section, there was an article titled 10 Things South Korea Does Better Than Anywhere Else. So let's take a look at what those are together. The first thing that caught my eye is the caption, Wired Culture. They wrote about South Korea's culture of using smartphones to pay at shops or to watch TV in real time on subways, and added that if you want to see what the future looks like, book a ticket to South Korea. Also mentioned in this list are Korea, the world's top credit card users, workaholics, business boozing, and the list goes on. The article also acknowledges Korea's highly successful female golfers, Korean flight attendants, and their excellent service, as well as the culture of going on blind dates. Right, so any one of you want to guess what the other things are on the list?
We've actually seen the, I have seen the list.
We've all seen the list.
Right, it goes on to talk about how Koreans love cosmetics and snail cream too. I've never heard of snail cream before, but...
Yeah, the article said that Korea has been constantly experimenting with unique ingredients and other different kinds of methods of application. Like you mentioned, snail cream made from snail guts, and volcanic clay mask made from volcanic ashes, fermented soybean moisturizer. I mean, these are all very, very interesting ingredients that you can't see anywhere else.
That explains all the great skin that we see all over the place on TV screens, right? Okay, I'm surprised that drinking soju wasn't on the list, because binge drinking was one of the things that were mentioned in there. It's a little bit discerning, but the gaming industry, it seems to have been left out. Now, there was no mention of that?
Of course. They also mentioned gaming, and they specifically mentioned StarCraft. I grew up playing StarCraft myself, and they said that nearly half of all the StarCraft games have been purchased by Korean gamers. And then the game industry here is so big that we have our cable TV channels that are solely devoted to these games also.
Zerg, Terran, or Protoss?
Zerg.
Okay.
Just making sure, right?
All right, thank you, Songcho. See you next week.
See you next week. Thank you.
All right, let's check back in with our Dami, who is joining us from a Himango Sharing Festival. I wonder what that is.
Himango, sharing mango. We'll hear all about it from Tommy.
I'm back reporting live from the Namsan Mountain area, where you can find a boutique owned by a designer here in Korea. Now, despite this cold weather outside these days, there is a certain warmth that this place brings, and I think it's because of a special festival that is taking place. I'm honored to introduce to you the 2013 Himango Sharing Festival. Now, Himang in Korean means hope, as mango is mango, but in this case, mango trees. So Himango stands for the mango tree of hope. Now, so far, through this festival, they have planted 30,000 mango trees in a small town called Tons, located in South Sudan. Now, the festival started out in the year 2009, and they held it every year in spring and winter, so there have been a total of 6 festivities so far. It's the festival itself is layered out like a bazaar, and what we just saw is the first floor, where you can find products that were sponsored by more than 40 businesses, and also home decorations, fashion items that were produced by Himango. Now, the prices are quite friendly as well, so it's a great way to come buy things to decorate your home for the season and to share these gifts with others. They say that all of the profits that are earned are sent to a multi-educational and cultural center for children and women called the Himango Village, which was facilitated by this festival as well. Now, right now, we're going up towards the second floor, and here we can see pieces of art that were drawn by 15 artists and doll artists based on the theme of hope. So you can easily get your hands on these drawings as well, as they are part of the bazaar. And now Himango itself was registered as an incorporated association in 2009. And in 2011, Himango became the first South Korean organization that has been certified as an international non-governmental organization, or NGO, since the independence of South Sudan. So it's a great thing that they're doing here at the festival. And if you have time, the 2013 Himango Sharing Festival will only be taking place until today. So take this opportunity, come by, look at some of these great products and affordable products as well. Buy some and share your love and show your support as well for the towns of Tons in South Sudan. I'm Idami, Korea Today.
And a good Monday morning to you all as we kick things off in the K-League Classic. Now with the season's last matches being played on Sunday, FC Seoul and Jeonbuk Hyundai Motors drew 1-1 with Incheon United sneaking past the Suwon Samsung Blue Wings 2-1. So with that said, we go over to the big matchup here. Pohang Steelers and Ulsan Hyundai Tigers facing off for the league title. Ulsan needing a draw or a win to take the title, with Pohang needing a win. Let's take a look at the highlights. Of course, going over to the game here, first half of the game, Kim Tae-soo looking very aggressive for Pohang. Takes several shots on goal, but to no avail. Pohang pushing forward the entire game, with Ulsan trying to stay back to defend, playing for the draw. We go over to the second half of the match with both teams still tied 0-0. Pohang keeps trying to score, but nothing happening here, and it looks like Ulsan is going to get the draw. But check this out, 90 plus 4 minutes. Here's Kim Won-il, and holy cow, check this out. A miraculous injury time goal here, and Pohang takes the match and wins their 5th league title. And with that, staying in football, but over in Germany's Bundesliga, where Son Heung-min continues to find the back of the net as he added 2 more goals to his season's tally over the weekend. Now, after an embarrassing 5-0 loss to Manchester United during their Champions League match, Bayer Leverkusen comes back strong over the weekend against Nuremberg as Son Heung-min sends one past the goalkeeper in the 36th minute for his 5th goal of the season. But he wasn't done yet in the second half of the match. Up 2-0, Son Heung-min does it again. A 76-minute goal, his 2nd goal of the match and his 6th goal of the season, as he helps Bayer Leverkusen cruise through 3-0. And now moving on to some Sunday's KBL action, as the LG Sakers absolutely crushed KCC Aegis 81-59, with Incheon Itilan Elephants beating Anyang KGC 84-78. That said, another game taking place. Let's take a look at the Seoul SK Knights take on KT Sonic Boom. Going into game first quarter of the game, Arirang Clark leading the way with 10 points in the quarter as KT takes a 26-17 first quarter lead. Second quarter, Aaron Haynes answers with 13 points in the quarter as the SK Knights cut the deficit to 48-44 going into halftime. But in the second half of the game, Cho Sung-min tearing it up, scored 11 points in the third quarter and finishes the game with 34 points in the game, helping KT Sonic Boom cruise through 95-80, your final score. And now finishing things off on the ice after Lee Sang-hwa won her 6th consecutive gold medal in the women's 500-meter event during the 3rd round of the 2013 Speed Skating World Cup. Mo Tae-bum over on the men's side finished 2nd with a time of 34.87 seconds to win a silver medal, his 3rd silver this season. So congratulations to him, and that's going to wrap it up for me. This has been SJ. Have a great rest of the day, and see you guys again for your sports needs.
Now, last week we had a taste of what the winter season can bring in terms of temperatures. So there are a lot of people that are already gearing up, buying the thermal underwear and much more. So Audrey Young joins us to talk more about some of the options that we have to stay warm. Good morning, Audrey Young.
Your mouth is a little frozen, I think.
It's so cold in the studio.
All right, I'll let you take that one. So there are newly released products that are here to keep us warm this winter. There's some very creative and innovative ideas. So today I'll be introducing to you some of these new ideas, new generation of products to help you survive this winter. No matter how many layers you put on, it's not easy to stay warm. And this winter, it is predicted to be extremely cold.
A lot colder than the actual temperatures due to the cold winds.
It feels like cold weather refuses to lift.
With the early arrival of winter, many people are searching for products to fight the cold. So there has been a sharp spike in sales for these goods. Among them, new products with unique features are stealing the spotlight.
These people are using heating products to enjoy a warm winter outdoors.
춥죠?
네, 오늘 발열장갑 껴가지고.
그쵸.
If you ride a bicycle in the winter, your hands will definitely get cold.
Before we take off, let's set the temperatures for the heated gloves, vest, and socks. Now go ahead.
These gloves produce heat, but how do they work?
The heated gloves are very warm, so it's great for riding bikes.
The gloves have heating wires inside that are powered by rechargeable batteries. Inside the glove is 30 degrees Celsius, 20 degrees higher than the current temperature.
Because I'm wearing heated gear, I am sweating. It's so hot I want to take off my clothes. It's really warm.
There is supposedly a special heating product here, but can you tell what it is?
No.
That's it, the heated picture frame.
Take a look. Wow, a picture frame.
So all you have to do is you press this button on the picture frame and that raises the temperature.
It heats up the area effectively and functions as an interior decoration.
It was up to 99 degrees Celsius. How's that?
Well, this frame is not the only creative heating product out on the market. This is an office building in Seoul, and within the same building, there's a rather large difference in temperature. So here in this office, workers look cold even though the heat is running. But in another office, there are workers in short sleeves and unbuttoned shirts. So why is it so different? And it's all because of this partition. Heat comes off of this large surface, and this is known as the partition heater. The office with the partition heater is 5 degrees warmer.
We have a partition heater in our office. I think it heats more effectively than a hot air furnace.
With rising gas and electricity costs, many people are worried about their heating bills this winter. So, for those who are looking to reduce energy costs, energy-saving products are predicted to make a big splash. And I went to visit a family who is said to be cutting back on power costs with unique ideas.
어서 오세요.
안녕하세요.
네.
어떤 종류가 있죠?
있는 건 보여드릴까요? 네, 잠깐 들어오시죠.
We have a draft in our home, so it was quite cold. But since we installed these insulation sheets to our windows, it's been much warmer at home. Let me show you how it's done.
Oh, that's all you have to do?
That's it. These are insulation sheets made from bubble wrap. And with this product, anyone can easily keep warm at home without additional heating.
And after the season, you could pop them with your kids.
That should be fun.
Well, these air bubbles help shield off the cold outdoor temperatures, so it helps reduce the heating bill. By using these insulation sheets, the temperature has risen by 5 degrees.
Wow.
What a simple idea, but so effective. All you have to do is spray the water on, add the insulation layer, and your house is protected from the cold wind from outside.
How come we didn't know about this all these years?
I don't think we've ever thought about putting that on our windows.
That's a new invention right there.
Well, the sales of these insulation sheets have increased 5-fold since last year. Actually, all heating products that do not require electricity have seen a large increase in their sales. So at this home, we found another energy-saving device to ward off the cold.
How many kids do they have? Here's my question.
좋아요. 집 만들어주세요.
그래? 알았어, 아빠가 집 만들어줄게. 잠깐 기다려.
무슨 집이요?
아, 집이요? 보시면 알게 될 거예요. 잠깐만요.
Oh, a tent.
Yeah, this is an indoor tent that effectively blocks the draft and at the same time,
a hot dome tent, it says.
It traps the warm air inside the tent longer because it is made using a special fabric.
And you can watch TV from right inside the tent.
Right through it, right? And there's Audrey. Just
After using this tent, my electricity and heating bills have gone down, so I'm satisfied.
thermal products to keep you warm in the winter. We can expect to see many more products with unique ideas spilling out in the market.
Well, with 4 kids, you might want to save on those energy bills a little bit, right? But here, you brought some of these items. Let's try this.
Take a look at them.
Yeah, these are the
concern,
gloves.
though, about safety measures. Are these safe?
Well, I don't think they're going to set your hands on fire anytime soon.
Well, they come in various sizes, though, I hope. It's
So,
a little
these are the
big for me.
rechargeable packs. And
That's right.
basically, we...
Turn it on for me. It's not...
Oh, you do know how to use
warm.
it.
Yes, I do, because we actually use this when we go bike riding every now and then.
Oh, you're one of those.
I'm one of those.
Winter sport enthusiasts.
So there's little wires that are embedded inside the lining, and what they do is they'll heat up, and you can actually feel it. Can you feel it?
Yeah, it is.
And warmer.
It is getting
amazing.
warmer, and I'm
You're feeling
getting
it
a little
inside,
bit
Right.
scared.
Definitely. And this is a vest you brought for us, right?
Yes,
so while
that's a
Young
vest.
tries on this vest, we're almost out of time, so we'll have to say goodbye to you for
Oh, well.
today.
Stay warm then.
Well, you brought the wrong size, so I guess I won't be trying this on today.
All right, well, thank you, Audrey, for that. This is where we say goodbye to you for now.
All right, the winter months here in Korea are going to get worse as time goes by, so stay warm out there. And we'll see you back here tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
Some socks to go with.
Oh, these are just for the toes.
Right.
Yeah.
Huh.